Hello everybody, this is Coach Razo here, and in this video we're going to go ahead and cover Unit 11. And it's going to be more of like a total review of everything that's going to be within this lesson that deals with area and perimeter of polygons. We're going to go ahead and get started, and this being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into what we're going to go ahead and do. Okay, so if you could go ahead and understand your videos about area and perimeter for figures, then that's one of the things that you have to go ahead and understand. Now, from here, one of the biggest things that comes into play is understanding which is going to be a part of the parallelogram or rectangle. Now, many students, sometimes they think that this is part, the little dotted line that drops is part of the height, is part of the perimeter or area, but just be careful on where you see it. So whenever you have a problem, maybe kind of like this one, a lot of students try and think, oh, well, I'm trying to go ahead and solve for, that's 40, this has to be 40 on this side, and then this has to be, I don't know which one it is, 48 or 24, you don't know. And what happens is that you have to realize what's going to be on top, and it's the same thing as what's on the bottom. So whatever is the longest side that's present, it's 48, this will be 48. This just happens to be a part of it. So if you're like building a fence and you stop at 24, the question would be, how long is this part then to make it 48? Because if you're building and you only build 24 feet of the fence and you forget about this part, this is a value. So this 24 is actually part of that 48. So in this one, you can go ahead and find out what the perimeter is, but just simply adding everything that you see. So 48 plus 48 plus 40 plus 40. And then that would be considered your perimeter from there. But I just need to go ahead and use my calculator to go and solve it. So 48 times 2 plus 80, it's 40, so you have 176. Okay, so in this one also, area is equal to base times height. Now, a lot of students, so one of the things that you have to realize is what does the height represent? So we had to go ahead and use this one right here. Now, if you're thinking the height is 40, no, that's not the height. When you look at somebody's height, you judge them by how tall they are, like going up and down. But if you judge them when they're doing this, like they're standing like that or leaning over, that's not the actual height. This is the height. So always look for that line that go or dotted line that goes vertically. So in this case, you'll have, and my base would go ahead and be 48. My base is 48, so 48. My height will go ahead and be whatever this green line is. But the issue is that I need to find out what that part is. And that's where using Pythagorean theorem come into place. So I'm going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because I had to go and use this triangle. So let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to try and go as quick because I got to go cover a whole lot of more stuff. Okay, so this would be 40. That's going to be x, and that's going to be 24. So I got a, b, and c. So you have 24 squared plus x squared is equal to 40 squared. And then you go ahead and use Pythagorean theorem as we're solving for these. So 24 times 24 goes 576. And this is 1600. So minus 576. X squared is equal to 1024. And then you square root it. And then you'll go ahead and get x is equal to, no idea what that is, 32. So 32 is going to be your x in this case. So this would be 32 times 48. Okay? So you have 1536 feet squared. Okay? So that's what we have for that one to go ahead and work with. Okay? So I got my area, and then, oh, don't forget about your feet on this side. This is feet for there. Okay? So from here, that's initially what you have for parallelograms. Now for side, this one, like if we had this example here, let's say I put this as 10, that means 10 would be equal to s. So you'll have areas equal to 10 squared or s squared. and then you'll have A is equal to 100 units squared. Okay, so that shouldn't be that bad. Now for the next one, what needs to go ahead and happen is that you need to go ahead and understand what type of triangle you're working with. So you might come up with like one that has identical triangles and you just need to solve one. So this one happens to be equilateral. So all the sides are the same. So if I have 10, this will be 10. And if I say this is 10, that means this little part right here is 5. So you need to go ahead and solve for this triangle because usually it may ask for your height, whatever the case it may be. So from here, you're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared to go ahead and solve for your height in this case. So I'm just focusing on this red triangle. So in this case, you'll have x plus 5 squared. Well, x squared is equal to 10 squared. Because remember, C is always the line that never touches the box. So if it's like this happens to be C because it doesn't touch the box and it's the hypotenuse. And then you go ahead and solve it for whatever it is. This one, I'm just going through this because may give you like a little refresher on what's going on. And then you just square root it. And then sometimes they'll ask you for the decimal. Okay. Now, and then you find your height of what that could be. Now, the other part over here is that you may have one where it may ask for the 5. It might ask for the bottom side, and it give you the height. So you just have to be able to realize that, oh, they're the same triangle, so just double it. So there will be 5 over here, and they'll become 10 at the very end of it. Okay? So be careful on that. Now, there are some that will go ahead and give you 2 different types of triangles. And they're going to ask you to go ahead and solve for the missing parts. So let's say they gave me like 12 and they gave me 8 and over here, but they gave me my height, which is 10. So what needs to go ahead and happen is that you're going to make 2 triangles over here. So you need to go ahead and solve for the first triangle. You need to solve for the first triangle, which would be 12 and then 10, and then solve for this missing side. And then you're going to solve for the other triangle here. So it'll be, I need a little bit more space. And then it'll give you something like this. So it'll be 8, and that'll be 10, and this will be x. So you have to set up 2 Pythagorean theorems to go ahead and solve it. So this one has 2 triangles to solve for. Solve for the missing side. Okay, so you just simply use a squared plus b squared for both of these. Okay, so then after you go and do that, you find your both values. Whatever values you end up getting, you're going to go ahead and combine them. And I'll give you the total side. Total side length. So for this case, you'll be able to find this one. So in order to find this, let's think about it. So let's make this part yellow. So this will be your yellow equation that you'll have to go ahead and solve, which will give you an answer here. And then you only have to go ahead and find another one where, oh, you have to look for this part right here. And then it'll become this after you plug this in, plug in your values into here. And that'll be that. And then you find out what the total length of your whole entire side is, and then that'll be this complete B. And that'll help you solve for the area, maybe perimeter, whichever case it may be. Okay, so these 2, I made videos on previously about trapezoids and kites and rhombus, so I suggest y'all go ahead and watch the videos. So watch the videos, because they're actually kind of long. So make sure you go to the It's Learning, or you can just go to the YouTube page, wherever it's at. Okay, so let's keep going down. These are just a little bit of challenge problems right here, so you can go ahead and see if you can figure it out. So base times height, and then you have x plus 12, and then x plus 2. Just go ahead and just simply distribute them, x squared plus 2x, and then plus 12x plus 24. And then you can just simply go ahead and combine like terms. So you have 14x plus 24. And so that would be actually your final area for that one, okay? Because you're expressing it in terms of x. You don't need to go ahead and solve for it. It's just asking you to go ahead and express it in that way. So you have x, and that'll be your final area, final answer for that one. Okay, so regular polygons, I explained that in the other video. Just make sure you go and watch that. So watch the other videos. Watch the videos. Okay. And then same from there. Okay, so one thing also to go ahead and think about is that when you're working with these types of problems, you have to understand what you're given and what you need to go ahead and focus on. So sometimes they give you the apothem, sometimes they go ahead and give you the side. So they can say this is 10, or they could just say this is 5, and they ask you to go ahead and solve for the missing side of it. So I would suggest looking for the watch the videos on Honest Learning that have the examples of regular polygons and circles. But one that I want to go ahead and cover is that with the circles and area circumference. So let's say you're given an area of like these two types of problems. So they're giving you the area, and then they give you the circumference and so forth. So for number 15, if they give you circumference when you're given the area of 9 pi, always understand that what you're given. So if you're given that area is equal to 9 pi, so area is equal to 9 pi, and that means that's what you're given. And then the formula that you have to go ahead and work with is something that deals with, for areas equal to pi r squared. So if I need to go ahead and identify this, then they're initially the same thing. So it's 9 pi is equal to pi r squared. Because they both share pi, cancel it. R squared is equal to 9. And then what's the square root of both sides? And then you get r's on the right. And then this square root of 9 becomes 3. And then initially do the same thing for circumference over here. You just set this equal to circumference formula, and then you find your r in that case. Now, from here, what needs to go ahead and happen is that once I go ahead and find my r, that means you can find the circumference. So it was initially looking for finding circumference of m. So I'm going to take my circumference is equal to 2 pi r. So 2 pi times 3, which is 6 pi. So then I'll be 6 pi km, and that's it. That would be km down here too, guys. Okay, so that's one way of going and solving those types of problems. Make it a little bit neater. So just be aware of it. The composite figures, the biggest thing to go about these for you to go ahead and work with is that you want to go ahead and cut them into proper rectangles or circles or whatever you need to go ahead and find. So like on this one, what I would go ahead and suggest is that you can cut it here, and then you get a 6x2 rectangle at the very top. And then for over here, you have to find out how long this part is right here. So all you have to take is, like if I know this part right here represents 7, I would just go ahead and find out what this part is right here. And then if I know this drops all the way to that side, now I'm just looking for what the remaining yellow part is. And so that means that this part would go ahead and be just regular 5. And then if you're looking for this part right here, we know this is 6, and that part right here represents 3. That means 6 minus 3, that gives you 3 here. And that gives you the parts that you need to go and use in order to go ahead and solve for what you need. Okay? So first figure, second figure. Find the area of them, or find the perimeter of whatever's on the outside of it. Okay. When you're given a shaded region, all you have to do, find the first area of the first one, and then find the area of the second one. Like in this case, what we need to go ahead and do is that we need to identify what's missing. So I know this part right here is going to be 12. So I have two figures. I got this one, and then I have this one. I know this is 12. I know that's 10. I can go ahead and find the area of that. If I'm looking for this figure here, and I know this is 12, and I'm looking for the missing height here, then I don't know what it is, then just use your information that you already know. So I can identify that this here is going to be 10. And if this here represents 16, I know that this missing part here then is going to go ahead and be 6, because this 10 goes all the way that way. So it eliminates that green line on the right side. So that means this 2, you're going to have to go, it's this height of this triangle is going to go ahead and be just a regular 6. And then now you have your base, and now you got your height to go and find out for the area of it. Okay? So just giving you a heads up. If you have something like this, just make it into two figures. So you have this and this, and just go ahead and describe what you know. So if I know this is going to be 6, my radius is 6. If I know this is 6, what's over here then? 6. So how long is that square then? That's 12. That makes this 12. That makes this 12. This 12. And then you have plenty of information to go ahead and find from your first figure, and then your second figure. Okay. So a lot of different things for you to go ahead and work on. Just make sure you just go ahead and stay on top of them. You can use my videos on the playlist or on the videos on the It's Learning, wherever you find them, to go ahead and help you understand these problems a little bit more, because they're already covered and they require a little bit more time. Okay. So just make sure you practice and watch the videos, and then always know the formulas that you're working with. Okay. All right. Tune in next time, guys. To the next video.